this white snowy day. Welcome this white snowy day. Welcome this white snowy day. Today will be a joyful day to rejoice and come in.
Well, hello everybody, and everybody at home, probably. Good morning and welcome to UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual freethinkers who gather to celebrate life, build community, and better the world. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Laura Wink, your worship associate for this morning, and the service today will be led by our minister, Eileen Casey Campbell. Thank you to everyone on this morning's worship team, including music by Bill Mells, Nursery Care for Children Under 3 by Melissa, there's no little children here, so we're good, and Children's Church for Children 3 and Over by Pat and Kaya Mells. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway. And whether it's your first visit or your 1,000th, we are glad that you came. This service is also being live streamed to our YouTube channel. We plan to continue with our hybrid worship throughout the church year, so you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube. We have a few announcements. We have shifted the joys and sorrows thing again. Those are back out on your chairs. If you have a joy or sorrow, please take a moment to write it down. We invite you to bring forward the cards that you would like to share and place them in this basket after Bill rings the chimes and begins to play. You can also come forward to drop a pebble in the water right here at the time if you have a joy or sorrow that you'd prefer not to share out loud. Next week is potluck. Haha, I remembered. Are there any other announcements?
Yes. Next week is potluck, and on Friday, the 26th, the fourth Friday, and every fourth Friday for the rest of the church year, we will have a Friday evening dinner church service. So we'll start gathering here at 5:30 to set up tables and set out food. We will ask folks to bring something that could be added to a grain bowl, and volunteers will make the grain. So it could be anything from an elaborate roasted veggie dish to a bag of craisins you picked up on the way here. And if you have nothing to bring at all, please still bring yourself. We will worship at tables for dinner church. It is family friendly. Bring your kids, bring every noisy person in your household. And then afterwards, if you'd like to stick around when dinner church is over, we will have a family games night. There are plenty of games here, but feel free to bring your favorite game if you'd like to. The Sunday after that, so Sunday the 28th, Social and Environmental Justice team will lead a service with a service component. So we will do some service work on that Sunday morning rather than a traditional worship service. So I hope to see you for one or both or either of those.
And now, Brandon's got an announcement.
This is just our monthly reminder. We have our board meeting coming up this Tuesday at 6:30. It'll be a Zoom meeting, so if you're interested in observing, and if there's any announcements or items that you'd like the board to consider, please email me, and I'd be happy to add that to our agenda as we prepare for it coming into this new year.
It's a good reminder for me. As we prepare to be fully together, I remind us all to silence our phones and devices, and we now enter a space of worship.
You can bring your joys and sorrows forward now.
And now is the time for chalice lighting. Rory. Good. I invite us to join together in our chalice lighting words as the flame is lit. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our truth and meaning, and celebration of the life we share together.
From all that dwell below the skies, that faith and hope with love arise, that beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land in every tongue.
Good morning. Good morning to all you brave souls who drove through the snow to get here, including those of you who are thinking, like, you know where we live, this is nothing. And good morning to everyone who... Yeah, this is... Bristol Mountain, I hope, is covered in snow right now. And all of you at home who are maybe cozy in your pajamas still, I sure hope so. If you're thinking this morning, with your inside voice, I'm sure, boy, she looks tired. You are correct. I ask for your patience this morning. As we get through today's service, I have maybe a little bit of deja vu because this is plan, Daniel will correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're on plan B of a D level plan for today's service. I have a little bit of deja vu because plan C was that I pre-recorded the service yesterday morning just in case I couldn't be here today. But we're not on plan C, we're on plan B. I'm here. I have a little deja vu because I've already recorded this. As many of you know, my non-congregational ministry is as a birth doula, including for Reverend AJ from First Unitarian, Reverend AJ's wife, Ada. And because AJ and I both like to tempt fate, I guess, we had each planned on preaching today about the power of a baby. And in the plot twist that maybe we all should have seen coming, Ada and AJ's baby chose to arrive last night. So this service is pre-recorded and being streamed out First Unitarian because AJ is definitely not going to work this morning. And in opening for us here this morning, I would love for us to just take a deep breath, take a moment, and welcome whatever warm, fuzzy feelings that announcement brought up in you. Baby Hazel is here. She's well and happy, and so is everyone in her family. Maybe you're feeling excitement born out of a love for Reverend AJ, who's preached for us several times, or for Ada, if you know her. Maybe you're feeling some sweet nostalgia from memories of your children in your own families, or children you know being born. Maybe you just feel the soft warmth of knowing a brand new human has joined us in the world. This is why we come to church, isn't it? To share in the gentle joy of being human together. And this is why we welcome children into our communities, why we turn in wonder toward a baby, like the folks in the Epiphany story we tell this morning have done. Because the spirit of life in us recognizes itself in them. So I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together our first song, the only Epiphany song in our hymnal, number 259, We Three Kings.
We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts
And now it's time for a story. We will have pictures for this story on the screen here. So if you're a small person or even a big person and you want to scoot up and sit on the floor a little closer to see the pictures, you are welcome to do that. Come on up now. This morning's story is the story of the 3 wise kings. And I know it's like 2 weeks in a row with Bible stories, and that's a lot for us. But this story is adapted and illustrated by Tommy DePaulo, one of my favorite authors, who has an interpretation that is very faithful to the text of the Gospel of Matthew. And it goes like this. Long ago, in the East, in lands far from one another, there lived 3 kings, Melchior of Arabia, Gaspar of Tarsus, and Balthazar of Saba. These were wise men who studied the stars. Each night they looked at the sky and wrote down where the stars were, where they had come from, and where they were going. One night, a star they had never seen before appeared in the sky. Each of the kings consulted his books and found that this new star was the sign that a great king was about to be born. So each king, not knowing about the others, set out to follow the star, to find the child king, and to honor him. And each carried with him a gift. Melchior took gold, Gaspar frankincense, and Balthazar myrrh. After many days and nights, the 3 wise kings met. They found they were all following the same star, and so they continued their journey together. But as they came near to Jerusalem, they lost sight of the star, and they did not know which way to go. "Let us ask at the palace of King Herod," one of them said. "Surely he will know of the birth of another king." "Where is he that has been born to be king?" they asked. "We have seen his star in the east, and we have come to honor him." Now Herod, who was an evil man, was disturbed when he heard this. He wished to be the only king in that land. He went to his chief priests and learned men and asked him where this child would be born. "It has been written at Bethlehem in Judah," they told him. Herod sent for the 3 kings. "Go to Bethlehem and find out all about the child king," he said. "And when you have found him, come back and tell me so that I may worship him too." The 3 wise kings set out for Bethlehem, not knowing that Herod wanted to destroy the newborn baby. And there in the sky, once again, was the star. They followed it until it stopped over the place where the child was born. And going into the place, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and falling down on their knees, they honored him. Then they opened their treasures and offered the gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. That night, as the kings slept, they were warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, for he wished to destroy the child. So the 3 kings, to keep Herod from finding the baby, returned to their countries by a different way. And this is the end of our story.
Now is the time in our service to join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church in its work. Each week, we like to spotlight a group or committee and thank them for their gift of time. This week, I'm making it up, is the pastoral care team. Pastoral care team reaches out to people in the congregation and friends of the congregation who might need a little help. People interested in finding out more can work with Eileen and join the Mary team. 1/4 of our plate collection for the frozen season goes to the M.K. Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence, whose mission is to help individuals and communities develop the inner resources and practical skills needed to achieve a nonviolent, sustainable, and just world. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check into the basket or by one of the options on your screen. Please make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. And now we gratefully accept the offerings.
We have many joys and sorrows on our heart this morning. Getting it in under the wire. I really empathize with that today. From Zoom, we share in the sorrow with Elaine Cook at the loss of her cousin, but gratitude for a successful surgery for another cousin. We share with Don's joy that he won the Finger Lakes Regional Watershed Alliance Citizen Award. We share in gratitude with Kaya for a friend moving closer to here sometime this year. We share in joy with Elliot for skiing on Bristol Mountain. Yay, we finally have some snow. He's gonna do a 180. And very fittingly today, we share our joy with Laura, whose son Oliver and daughter-in-law Lauren have announced that they are expecting a baby in June. For all these joys and sorrows, and for all the other big feelings left in our hearts, we promise to one another we are with you as we drop one final stone in the water. Will you say it to one another with me? We are with you. And now it is time for religious education. If you are heading to RE, you can follow Miss Pat and Miss Kaya to the stairs.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the love of all surround you everywhere. Everywhere you may go.
Now is the time in our service for centering and meditation, followed by some shared silence. We remind ourselves, of course, that by shared silence we mean the absence of grown-ups talking to one another so that we can listen more closely for the sounds of life. The wiggles and giggles of our children downstairs, the softly falling snow outside, the breath of the neighbor in the seat beside us, the beating of our own hearts. So I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Pay attention to your breath as it flows in and out. Perhaps your eyes fall closed. As we lift up these centering words by the Reverend Molly Hosh Gordon, which she calls daily bread. Let this be the year we release our wish for resolution. None of the available endings appeal anyhow. But let it be unformed and sticky, rising. And let it be soft, for God's sake. This year, let us need and learn to stretch. Let this be the year we rest somewhere warm. And when we have doubled the dream of freedom, let this be the year we fill every belly with the possible and feast. Amen. So I hadn't planned on it becoming quite so relevant to our worship this weekend. But as mentioned, I work as a birth doula when I'm not doing congregational work with you. And I think about the spiritual state of birthing people quite often in that work. But it's much less frequent that I consider birth and babies as significant to our spiritual communities. As we move through Christmastide, coming to the end of it today, telling stories of the birth of Jesus and the visitation of the three kings, while we enter our season of staying soft, our seasonal theme for January and February, I've been thinking about the spirituality of birth in my church work an awful lot. You will know this if you have given birth or witnessed one sometime since your own, but birth is a great softening. It's true physiologically. Birthing people produce extra relaxin, the hormone that makes our connective tissue soft and stretchy. We are in a millions of years long evolutionary negotiation as a species between growing small pelvises that let us walk on two legs and big old noggins that let us use tools and speak languages and have complex social relationships, versus being able to relatively safely get those big heads into the world. So literal softening of muscles and connective tissue is necessary to do the work of shaking the tiny squishy pillow of a person through the pillowcase of a pelvis, if you will. New parents love when I refer to their baby with that kind of metaphor. But it's not just the softening of anatomy that happens during birth. There is an enormous emotional softening that's happening too. A birthing person has to bear some of the most intense, full-bodied pain they will ever experience, and don't forget, relax their muscles. They have to, in the best case scenarios, trust the spontaneity of their body's processes, not knowing at what rate the process will progress, how long it will take, or even which part of the process will come in which order. It is a bone-deep spiritual reordering of a person's sense of control. Often, while facing a medical system that doesn't trust their entire gender with bodily control, just in general. It requires finding the power in extreme vulnerability. And I don't know if you know this, but that's something that we as a culture are not super great at. Nevertheless, I will watch a person go through this radical softening of their whole being, an absolute food processor to their very humanity, and then hold a brand new human on their chest and say to me, "This is the best day of my life." Babies do something to us, man. I think that's, when you come right down to it, the heart of the story of Epiphany, of the three kings crossing a whole desert just to look at a baby, being so overtaken with wonder and awe that they risk everything to save this stranger baby's life. I have a friend who's a religious educator who always says that her ideal world would be if every meeting had at least one baby in it. People really just behave better to each other in the presence of a baby somehow, she says. Babies do something to us. At my very first congregational meeting here with you all in Canandaigua, I had done my bit, to be honest. Most of a minister's work around a congregational meeting happens in the year leading up to it. The meeting itself is for you all, for the members to make decisions together, and me to just be here for you. And one of our congregants, Megan, was trying to get ready to present a report in her leadership role while juggling her new baby. "I can take the baby," I offered. "I'm just here to observe for the rest of the meeting." So she helped me strap a carrier on, and I paced in the back of the sanctuary with tiny baby Maria, while her mom did grown-up church work up here. And I know Megan felt like I was doing her a favor because of her many thanks, like I was offering some kind of above and beyond pastoral care. But as I watched my congregation do the deep work of figuring out how to function as a community with one another, while I held a squishy little pile of sleeping human, I couldn't have been happier. Babies do something to us. Fancy theologians, like big fancy ones, will tell you that Easter is, of course, more theologically significant than Christmas. It is, without question, the more impressive miracle. And yet, whenever I hold a baby, I feel a really profound understanding of why we care so much more about Christmas. Anytime I stop to gaze in awe at a floppy little puddle of a person like our own little Maria once was, it's obvious Easter's got nothing on that. I feel like resurrection, schmesurrection, this is the real deal. Babies. And I'm not like a fancy theologian, but I really do believe that this is where the rubber of our theology meets the road of our actual experience. Being in the presence of a baby is a holy and humbling moment. Here is a human being fully dependent on others for their every need. And I don't know anyone who's come back from death, but we were all of us babies. The mundanity of it is sacred because it connects us to one another. Every person sitting here, everyone you ever loved or despised, every scheming politician, every king and every beggar, every stranger you've ever passed on the street arrives the same way as a soft little mess of human need. So the spiritual task, I believe, in this season of staying soft is to look upon our own deep vulnerability with the same wonder and awe that we find when we look upon a baby. And as always, it's easier to see someone else's need and offer grace for it than it is to do for ourselves, right? Ours is not a culture that values vulnerability. We lift up heroes with strength and bravery, but not the kind of strength it takes to let go of a need for control. And not the kind of bravery it requires to move through the world with our hearts unguarded. That softness is exactly what we admire in a baby, though. What we feel a primal urge to protect. And I wonder if in this season we could let our own hearts be as soft as someone's who hasn't learned to shield it yet. If we could let our own need for one another be as visible as someone's who is helpless alone. Because of course we are. We might buy into the myth of the rugged individual, but no amount of bootstrapping bravado will change the fact that none of us can survive without the interdependence of community. So could this be the winter where we stay soft enough to admit it? And I know it isn't easy. As a culture, we've made offering after offering to the idols of order and control. We've traded our softness for the promise of security. But if the story of Epiphany is teaching us anything, it's that that kind of power is not where holiness lies. Allegiance to that kind of power is hard to let go of, but that kind of power is not lasting. Could we, in this season, choose the softness of curiosity over the rigidity of firm in our beliefs? Could we choose to be soft in what we feel we know, to turn in wonder and curiosity toward the unknown, rather than be hard in what we feel certain about? Because letting go means embracing our insecurity, acknowledging that we, like babies, are all soft, squishy puddles of human need. It will mean the truly hard task of learning to love without control, to move toward love without agenda or our own need for order, without dominance, just with hearts full of need. It is such a vulnerable act to love deeply and know no control, to love another human who cannot be our possession, to love a neighbor who maybe looks more like a threat than a friend, to love a world that is hurting and broken. It breaks our own hearts sometimes. And we can share in the radical power of love only in as much as we share its vulnerability. It is only when we let go of our illusions of control, when we know we live by the grace of this earth and one another, that we can even recognize love's abundance. And it is a radical resistance to systems of oppression for us to find power in that vulnerability, in a love that is not about control. It means a willingness to stay soft enough for our hearts to break. It means seeing the wounds of our siblings here in Canandaigua, in Gaza, in Iowa, in the pews beside you, and letting our soft and vulnerable hearts be wounded too. That is the entrance to an interdependence where love divine is abundant. And babies know how to do it, so, we can probably figure it out. The sight of a baby pulls at us. Babies do something to our hearts because they remind us that the most vulnerable person we can imagine is the person each of us has once been, is the beginning of ourself. Babies remind us so piercingly of our own need and of our deep softness for one another's. May we stay so soft, my friends. Amen.
You wonder where, you wonder when, you wonder how, now and then, how you became who you've become. You are here and yet you dream of being there, of being where you think the good life has begun. Every darkened hallway, every fallen dream, every battle lost and every shadow in between will bring you to your knees and closer to the reason. And there's no making cases for getting out and trading places. And there's no turning back, no, you are here. No, you are here. You can't say you made the choice in the matter of your birth, who brought about that fateful day. You are here and born with fire and desire. You're the only one who stand in your own way. Every broken arrow, every hardened smile, every foolish gamble, and every lonely mile will bring you to your knees and closer to the reason. And there's no making cases for getting out and and there's no turning back. No, you are here. No, you are here. And every sign of love, and every seed that's growing, and every sweet surrender to that silent knowing will bring you to your knees and closer to the reason. And there's no making cases, getting out and trading places. And there's no turning back. No, you are here. No, you are here.
This morning we offer as a benediction these words from Sarah York. Give us the spirit of the child, who is not afraid to need, who is not afraid to love. Would you rise in body or in spirit with me as we close our service in singing our closing hymn, number 1062, in the teal hymnal, All Around the Child.
Please join me in our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.